Now Youth Dialogues. I'm Krista.
And I'm Eric. It's day 3 here at the Global Shapers Annual Summit, and this morning was all about turning local actions into global momentum.
We kicked things off with leadership circles on the theme of impact, a moment for shapers to ask, what are the biggest challenges in my community? And what am I going to do about them? It wasn't just reflection, it was activation.
Then we stepped into the project marketplace, and it was electric.
Absolutely.
Imagine walking through a hallway buzzing with over 25 bold youth-led initiatives.
Oh my God.
Tackling everything from education to climate justice. Innovation Prize winners were right there, pitching solutions that are already changing lives.
And the momentum kept building. In our initiative deep dives, we saw what happens when ideas get sharper, partnerships get real, and shapers dare to scale their work. From upcycled ecosystems to strategic foresight, from air pollution to net zero equity, today showed us that this community doesn't just talk about impact, it builds it.
Now, it's time to take this spirit global. If this morning was about youth-led action, this next roundtable is about what happens when generations come together to deliver results that last.
The conversation igniting intergenerational climate leadership brings together frontline activists, global champions, and youth leaders to answer one big question. How do we move from commitment to action and from consultation to collaboration?
Moderated by Gill Einhorn from Forum's Center for Nature and Climate, this is a dialogue about equity, urgency, and working across generations to shape a livable future.
Let's dive in.
Welcome, everyone, to this roundtable on intergenerational climate leadership. It is both urgent and really important this year for us to speak about these critical issues. We've been living for 18 months in a world of 1.5 degrees. What does that mean? That means increasing climate hazards, droughts, floods, extreme heat, extreme cold, extreme weather, many extremes. And we're starting to feel those global implications, not just on the planet, but in our economics and in our societies. The COP28 global stocktake demonstrated that we are not where we need to be. And this is really a moment in time for us to pause and to reflect. What is needed now in order for us to move forward? It's a moment for us to redefine nature and climate ambitions in the lead up to COP30 in Brazil. It's a moment to move beyond sounding the alarm into the bold collaborations that are needed today. A moment for young leaders to step up, but for that stepping up to be facilitated by the world in order for them to speak their truth to power and to move the momentum that is needed today. It's a moment for diplomacy, for activism, and for solutionism. A moment that will define all of our collective lives and livelihoods as we walk together through this climate crisis. It is also a moment that will determine the future livability of our planet. I'm joined today by 3 remarkable women. Lindsey Prowse from the World Economic Forum, the 1T.org youth lead, particularly on engagement of young people, but also working with our North America chapter. Marcela Oliveira, thank you for joining us, COP30's youth champion.
Hello.
And Lorena James, thank you, founder of Invasive Impact Initiatives. So here we have a convener, an activist and a negotiator, as well as an ecopreneur. I'm going to start with you, Lindsey. A key theme of the Global Shapers Summit has been intergenerational leadership. What does that mean in the context of the nature and climate crisis? and why is it important today?
Thank you, Gill. Yes, we've been having a lot of conversations about what does intergenerational leadership mean in the context of nature and climate, especially today. So this is a concept that can be understood based on a simple idea that every generation has something of value to offer to each other. And when we put that into context as we're facing hard realities ahead, a big complex problem, enabling spaces to collaborate more effectively across age, across experience, across time horizon can benefit corporate climate strategy and policy, as well as benefit younger generations who are set to inherit many of these decisions and consequences of decisions that are being taken about their futures that have an impact on their future. So the good news is that there is some research that is emerging that shows this to be true. I'll just cite one study as an example. If we zoom into the private sector in particular, where arguably the most influential decisions are being made in the boardroom, there's a study that cites if you introduce one single younger leader to that agenda-setting decision-making space, the company's CSR outcomes can improve up to 15%. So that's a big win. However, what we know is that this concept of cross-generational leadership and collaboration is still being largely underutilized, especially in conventional leadership models. And where decisions are being made on climate and capital and resources, they're not benefiting from younger perspectives and younger generations, which bring a unique set of values and perspectives and skill sets, which we'll hear a little bit more about today. So we have this challenge ahead of us where conventional decision-making spaces often equate leadership with years of experience. But intergenerational leadership is a tool that we can use to reimagine how do we make more effective decisions and scale more effective action for nature and climate by collaborating across generations and geographies to get us there. So part of the work that we're doing is really to articulate the benefits and that narrative and sharing that with our private sector partners.
Thanks, Lindsey. Big message there on collaboration. And we have Marcele here from COP30. Your mandate as the Youth Climate Champion is to help to deepen youth engagement in the process in the multilateral negotiations. Can you give us some examples of what you've seen in terms of really meaningfully shaping the outcomes and what tactics and approaches you've experienced to be most effective in driving change?
Okay, thanks for the invitation. We have a lot of things on the table. Is one global governance really difficult now, but the COP30 is one moment when maybe, who knows, we can organize the way we are understanding the world. Because of why I'm saying that. I am climate activist, and I also a black woman, a young black woman, coming from Brazil, from the South Global. For us, climate justice is one urgency. It's not one conversation about solidarity or empathy. It's one conversation about our lives. So I fight for one green park in my neighborhood, and when I was going to the university, I look at the bus, the trees inside my neighborhood don't exist, but in the much-road zones, the trees are there, the green spaces. So what is this? This is environmental racism. And when I understand that and start to understand another types of injustice around the Brazil, but around the world, I understand we have the solutions for this. We have people defending the nature and defending the climate and facing the consequence of climate change for decisions they don't make. We don't make. We in that table, we don't make the decisions. We think absolutely differently about this. But when we look for COP30 like one moment, not just to the negotiators, but one moment to the mutirão and explain. Mutirão is one word in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, about collective action. So you here and you watching us know about this collective action. And collective action have different contexts, have different age, have different perspectives, but it's everybody together. So for COP30, the mandate is to engage children, youth, and families, and the cultural sector, and the people trying to understand ways to survive in the conditions we have with the hot waves, with the floods, but also trying to make one climate education for the children, trying to be inside the conversations in the local level for better plans. The political plans in the local level is really important for adaptation. So it's not just the high level, it's the high level and the local level and the youth engagement in all this. So we are talking about capacity building, but we are talking about finance because we have the solutions, we don't have the finance, we need the finance. We are talking about the protagonists for the traditional knowledges coming from the indigenous communities, the traditional communities. So all this is on the table because we are in COP 30 years. And this model, this system don't solve the problem. But the system, the Paris Agreement, the conversation about adaptation, about implementation is really important to we continue advancing for one real action coming for the parties, but also coming for us. We need more climate education for everybody. We need to talk about climate justice. And this is part of our mandate. The official constituents in Yongo have one global youth statement, and we are together to make this global youth statement be stronger for the negotiators, but also make a roadmap to climate education, to understand what is the inevitable process, but what is climate justice inside your neighborhood, because this is sometimes most important than the decisions in the places of the UN. So it's difficult, but it's really important to make this spirit of mutirão now, because the COP of Latin America, the COP of SOP Global, so it's not because it's our COP will be something wrong happens. We'll be okay with the right decisions, and it's possible. In this moment we are, and it's just one event. We have a lot of work to do outside the COP 30 doors.
Thanks very much for that. You mentioned education, and education is important not just to get the word out and the message out, but also in business and doing things new and different, which we need at the moment because the status quo isn't sufficient. So Lorena, I'd love to come to you to get a little bit more of a sense of where you see this agenda heading, particularly because you've built a business where you've actually helped to shift the narrative. We think about invasive species, they're not great, but if you turn that into sustainable materials, that's a wonderful thing. So you've managed to create a shift and do that successfully. What is the role of ecopreneurship and young people in that, given a status quo where the mechanisms of our economic systems aren't necessarily fit for purpose, and we do need some disruption?
Definitely, thank you. I appreciate that question. And as a Global Shaper and a Future 50 Fellow, I appreciate being here. As you mentioned, education. As an ecopreneur, I feel like I'm half entrepreneur, half environmental entrepreneur, half educator. A lot of people that we work with maybe have never even heard of invasive species, do not know what they are. So as a youth environmental leader, a lot of my job is education and teaching people about, kudzu, known as the vine that ate the South, here where I'm from in North Carolina, but also spreading across much of the rest of the United States South. As a youth leader, a lot of our work is really just a lot of optimism. I have to say I am a optimist in this work. I feel like it's impossible to not be, in my personal opinion, as an environmental leader. But I feel like as you age, that optimism can tend to fade away. So a lot of the benefit I've seen of joining teams of older folks is like having that optimism, having the drive to know that we can make a change in this world. So as an ecopreneur working in the invasive species space, we are encouraging this paradigm shift. As you mentioned, obviously, invasive species are bad for the environment, but they have often native and culturally significant uses in their home countries. So for example, the kudzu I mentioned, or even a different example, water caltrop is invasive in the Great Lakes region, but is actually native to parts of China. I was there a couple of weeks ago for the annual meeting of the New Champions, and while I was there, I actually had a meal that included water caltrop. It was delicious, and I was thinking, what if we were able to take this method of cooking water caltrop and utilize that to help decrease the population of water caltrop that's invasive in the Great Lakes region. So it's this kind of thinking where, initially I'll show this idea with, like an older nonprofit leader, for example, in Charlotte, North Carolina, or in Buffalo, New York. And initially they're thinking, why would we do that? These invasive species are so bad for the environment, they can't possibly have any good. But when I explain the process of removing the invasive plant from ecosystems and processing it in a responsible way to make sure that we're not spreading that invasive species further, they're like, that makes perfect sense. Why hadn't I thought of this before? So it's that education part that's really important in what we do, and having that energy as a youth, as a Gen Z person, really helps us get a lot of work done in this invasive species management and upcycling work.
That's super. You talk about optimism. We at the forum talk about informed optimism. We need the full information of the hard realities, but we also need to hold on to that optimism, because if we don't, we'll get caught in a trauma response of fight, flight, freeze, fold, which is where a lot of inaction takes place. So it's super to have the optimism, but also to know the facts. And so inspiring to hear that in China you had a new idea. So I think there's already some disruption.
Definitely.
So Marcella, if I can come back to you just in terms of COP30, it's round the corner. What are the plans for ensuring that intergenerational leadership and specifically partnerships are being fostered through the meetings that Brazil is hosting?
Yes. As I say, the Global Youth Statement is really important, and I invite today all the community global shapers to be inside with the plenaries and consultations we will make online and presential in Brazil, so everybody please come. But also the mutirão is not just one word and not just one thing you have to wait one invitation. You are making one mutirão, probably you too, probably you watching us too. Because the mutirão is one thing you make because the urgency is outside. Urgency is in our lives, is in our blood, is facing our dream, is looking for our future. So when we are moving, we are making the mutirão. So we need to connect all this ecosystem of people making the climate action in local level, in high level, inside the governments, the private sector, and this is a big challenge. But be together and connected with the mutirão, look at the social media and make your mutirão connect with the hashtag mutirão COP30 is one good way to be inside. But also the global ethical stocktake, it's a good invitation for Marina Silva, our environmental minister, to try to understand what is the ethical for the future we want. This is really beautiful because it's not a global ethical stocktake because I have one paragraph saying about this. It's one global ethical stocktake because we need to understand what is the ethical inside the table now. What is possible, what is not, and who is the person who have to maybe shaming to don't make the responsibility about our future be considered in the moment they have the decision in the hands. So the global ethical stocktake have the opportunity to make in one autonomy way. So inside the COP30 site have all the information about this. You can make in your school, in your neighborhood, and share that information about your community, about what you understand about ethical stocktake with the environmental minister to just go for one final declaration at COP30. Beautiful, right? It's beautiful. So just two ways to be inside with the Global Youth Statement, one more way, and of course, come to Brazil, come to Belém, but come understanding the negotiating is one thing, and outside in Amazonia, in Belém, in state of Pará, you have a lot of questions, but a lot of solutions. So this is good too. The last 3 years, the COP was in places without this civil society movement. But in Brazil, we are there, and we are trying to send for the world one message. It's not the COP. It's all the movement we are making to save our lives, to save our children, to save our nature, recognize the nature in the way we are looking. Not one thing to serve us, but one thing necessary to our life. You can't buy one tree. You can't buy one river when this river dies. This is not possible. So maybe the climate crisis is the most big crisis for all the system, the capitalism system, all this, because we can't solve that with money. We just can't solve that with community. Don't have another option. So the COP30 in Brazil can be this changing of the way a lot of persons in different contexts are talking about climate justice, because we are not talking about the people, and we need to talk about the people. So I believe that's good ways to engage, to understand, and maybe change the bibliography for the academic, maybe change the invitations for our forums, for our conference, maybe change the place we are taking the money go. if we make all this, we are making the multidão. It just don't depend of capturing invitation, it just depends of us. So it's really good being in that position to say that for the people, for the world, for everybody, we have to move together. The capital is one moment, but it's just one moment. We need the beyond because we are here trying to understand the future, try to understand the beyond. So the beyond have to be in the way we want because it's our future. So why not trying to reinvent and don't believe in the end? It's not the end, I have 26. So I have a lot of life to live. And for me, that's the best answer. Capital is an invitation to now, for beyond, start to think about the climate action in a different way and make the multidão inside our days, inside our communities, and share this with the earth, invite more people, and try to make this really together. Recognize the local knowledge, the traditional knowledge, of course.
Exactly, we need collective action, and that needs to be informed by stakeholders on the grassroots. We also need the entrepreneurship. And Lorena, I'd love to hear from you a little bit about how, as an ecopreneur, knowing that actually sustainability of systems does require you to have an income to make sure that what you're doing is able to last in the longer term. How do you think about this question of intergenerational partnership and what's needed to be able to move that into a reality from the perspective of businesses and innovation?
Definitely. Like, of course, finances are important in what we do and finding that balance of making a profit and also supporting our environment. But I have to agree the community aspect is also so important in what we do. A lot of the work with the invasive species upcycling, we have to partner with local nonprofits that remove invasives, and we partner with them in order to upcycle the materials into marketable products. So the community aspect there is very important. But in terms of what it means to be a youth in this space and doing that kind of work, just, I don't know, maybe like 2 hours ago, we did an initiative called backcasting, which is something that we learned actually as a Future 50 fellow. Essentially, the concept is, imagine this like perfect world. It might sound so insane and crazy to think of, maybe we were talking earlier, I'm a big Harry Potter fan. Imagine like magic is real and it's like amazing, perfect world.
But magic is real.
Exactly, yes, the magic is real, we can make it happen, yes. How do we get to that point? Not thinking of where are we now and how do we get there, but what's our ideal world and how do we work backwards to get to where we are today, to get to where we want to be in the future. So kind of a reverse way of thinking in that way. And I feel like prior to learning of the term backcasting, I feel like I already thought that way. I already kind of imagined this world where we all respect nature, we all respect each other, and we work together collaboratively, and we really emphasize this importance, again, of community for sure. And so that's what I really center in this work with invasive impact initiatives. Of course, we're a business, but also we're a community, and we work with, I've worked with like 5-year-olds doing workshops. We've done an initiative at a senior living community, so we're like 80, 90-year-olds, and we all come together and we all have this passion of like learning more about our environment through this lens of invasive species management and upcycling. So yeah, I would say, I guess backcasting has been a really interesting way to view this work and to make an impact and to, again, be the term you mentioned, optimistic, but
informed optimism.
Informed optimism, yes, that's it, exactly.
Super. So there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of community, in terms of the economics behind things as well, and bringing those two together, because the reality is they're not separate. You can't have an economic system separate from a community. The two are embedded. It's a part of livelihoods. But in order for young people to really be able to step up into more leadership roles, we also need some of the big businesses to shift what they're doing and do things in a way that do open the space for young leaders to come in. And Lindsey, I'd love to hear a little bit more from you in terms of your work with corporates. How are they thinking about intergenerational leadership, and what are the opportunities for them to make this space available? You mentioned earlier that it makes business sense for them to bring youth onto boards, but what are you seeing in terms of their actions that are helping to facilitate this intergenerational partnership?
Yes, that's it's the question that this is a question that is anchoring our intergenerational leadership program. This is a program housed within the Center for Nature and Climate, where we've brought together over the last year a group of young innovators and young leaders who are focused on scaling meaningful engagement of youth participation on the ground and at the policy level and in collaboration with other stakeholders. Many of them, actually all of them, are leading income-generating organizations like yourself, for-profit, nonprofit ventures. And we've engaged about 50 companies, representatives from about 50 companies. And what this community has tackled together is a couple of practical examples and implementation opportunities that companies can consider to more meaningfully engage and benefit from engaging with younger generations. So I'll share the handful of recommendations, starting from the most practical entry point to the slightly more resource intensive, but also potentially most transformative. The first is actually consultation and dialogue. Very easy. We have actually a program that companies and young people can plug into for these opportunities to dialogue in a safe space around tricky conversations, complex topics, and identify space for potential allyship or collaboration or more understanding. So that's part of the heart of the program that we've run. So that's one step, is creating mechanisms for consultation. The second is actual partnership. We are seeing companies boldly experiment investing in or providing support for youth-led solutions, youth-led organizations that have nature climate at the heart of their operating models. I'll give one example. In the last year or so, Google had invested in a youth-led solution called Climate Cardinals. They're also a member of this community. And that's one way that we're seeing momentum build around this conversation in terms of private sector, youth-led solutions coming together to tackle shared problems and the innovation that these organizations bring to the table to help change the game. The third is external advisory councils. So these are advisory spaces that have been created outside of a company that consist of young stakeholders who are not employees. They're young stakeholders outside the company who are able to dialogue with leaders of that company. I'll give one example. Inca Group, IKEA, has been boldly experimenting with this so that young leaders can provide feedback on the company's sustainability strategy, direction, and impact. And then the final option, again, I said potentially most transformative, is the board seat, creating a formal board seat for a young person to be part of the agenda-setting, decision-making spaces. And at the moment, we know that the average age of board members is 63. And I mentioned earlier, conventional models of leadership still tend to prioritize years of experience. So not necessarily benefiting from the skills, the innovation, the fresh thinking, the spotting emerging trends, technologically savvy younger generations in those spaces. So the board offers a really great opportunity, potentially most transformative opportunity, to have an impact on how those decisions are made on climate, capital, and resources. And we are seeing a handful of companies experiment with this, but the truth is we need to do more to articulate why this benefits companies, and also to bring more companies on board on this journey to boldly experiment with younger generations.
Well, Lindsey, lots of work to do, but we've got amazing people here to do that, you included. So we're looking forward to walking this journey with you. I just want to highlight a few things that I heard on the panel today, particularly related to how you can help to move this movement forward. So one of the big points was made in terms of really being honest about where we stand today, recognizing that climate education is essential, that we need both the information as well as the optimism, and that we need climate justice in this process, and that means that everybody needs to be brought along. So I've just learned a new word, multirao. Am I saying it right? Yes. Multirao, collective action, everyone together, and I think that's a word we need to start to embed into our language, into the way in which we see the world, into the way we enter COP and exit COP, as to your point, because it's not just one moment, this is a process. And if you are interested in the youth statement, that is happening. So as a global shaper, encouraging you to get involved there. Also, of course, we need work in terms of opening the space and allowing individuals who have these brilliant ideas in. So that's on the part of companies, as Lindsey was saying. We need to bring youth onto boards. We need consultation, dialogue, allyship. We need advisory councils that are external that can help to move things forward. And we need each of us. and we need each of us to do our part in our way. And so as we close this 2025 Global Shapers Summit, I'd like to leave you with a quote inspired by Viktor Frankl and a question. The quote says, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom." And my question to you is, what is your part in multi-round? What is your part in this moment in time? And how are you going to help enable the future, a future that is prosperous, a future that considers everybody, and a future that we want to live in? Thank you.
That conversation was powerful.
It was.
What's our response? What's your choice in shaping an active future? And just going back to Lorena's point, in educating and communicating the benefit of this nature-based solution, and Marcella, global youth statement involving these communication, the benefits through global forums like COP30, like annual meeting in Davos, or Global Shapers annual meeting. And to Lindsey's point, in adding, how do we add these voices into leadership models so that businesses, every stakeholders, can integrate youth voices while making decisions for long term?
I mean, Marcella said that very clearly, asking all young people, don't wait for an invitation, apply. This is a movement to save our lives. And the new word, multi-rights collective, is a collective movement.
Yeah.
So do not wait. This is an important movement that will shape our future. Today's panelists remind us that young people are not just the conscience of the climate movement, they are delivering results. Whether it is community-led reforestation, climate-smart innovation, or upcycling invasive species, youth are reshaping what climate action looks like.
But as we also heard, progress won't scale without real intergenerational partnership. That means moving beyond symbolic engagement and towards deep collaboration, where youth have the power, resources, and platforms to drive solutions from the ground up.
And institutions, whether governments, businesses, or NGOs have a choice. They can invite youth to listen to the table and listen, or they can go at it alone and fall behind, because the truth is young people are already doing the work. What they need are allies who are willing to share power, shift systems, and fund ambition.
So what does meaningful collaboration look like? It looks like co-designing climate strategies. It looks like intergenerational teams driving nature-based solution. It looks like visibility, investment, and trusting people closest to the problems.
It also looks like global platforms that amplify youth impact, and one of those platforms is CNN's Call to Earth Day. Every year, CNN celebrates local climate action stories from around the world, and this year, they're putting global shapers at the front of the line.
Let's hear from CNN anchor Max Foster, who has a message just for you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Max Foster. You may know me as CNN anchor and the host of What We Know, which airs on weekday evenings here in Europe. I'm here by video today to congratulate the World Economic Forum Global Shapers on being recognised for your contributions to improving our world. Some of you may have recently heard of or even participated in Call to Earth Day, one of CNN's most high-profile and celebrated events. Call to Earth Day happens every year. It's an opportunity for our network to spotlight young environmentalists coming together to create a more sustainable future. This year, I'd like to offer the Global Shapers community a first-in-line opportunity to join our initiative and get recognised for the work that you're doing already on a global scale. This year's CNN Call to Earth event will take place on November the 6th. Its theme is Guard Your Green Space, and we're asking people to take a moment, Grab a few friends, classmates or co-workers and do something good for the environment. It could be anything from organising a clean-up or recycling drive in your community to planting native trees or building out a bee garden. The more creative and more inspiring the idea, the better. To take part, all you have to do is sign up online to our Call to Earth registration page. Then, once you've held an event, make a post telling us about your favourite green space and how you've decided to protect it. Be sure to use the hashtag Call to Earth so we can find your post. One of our producers may get in touch to use your videos in a newscast or promo ahead of Call to Earth Day. Before I say goodbye, I would just like to add that it's work like yours which gives us all hope for the future. And I hope I'll see some of your work on my show for Call to Earth Day on the 6th of November.
What an invitation. To recap, Call to Earth Day takes place on November 6th, and this year's theme is Guard Your Green Space. So here's what you can do. Rally a few friends, classmates, or fellow shapers. Organize something simple and impactful. It could be a cleanup, a tree planting, a bee garden, get creative. Then share it with the world. Remember to use the hashtag Call to Earth and tag CNN. You might just get your work featured on global television.
Max said it best. It's work like yours that give us hope for the future. So let's show the world what hope in action looks like.
And now we are going to turn onto our on-site journalist, Great Atkinson, who's with Rebecca Raphael to discover more about the Youth Perspective Map on the Strategic Intelligence Platform. As we also featured during our live program yesterday, Strategic Intelligence is the World Economic Forum's digital platform for data and insight, enabling shapers to curate informed strategies. Grace, over to you.
Hi, Krista. Hi, Eric. Thank you for a great live session so far. You know, it's my final segment of the live stream this afternoon, and what a great way to end it with the Strategic Intelligence team. I'm here with my lovely colleague, Rebecca. Rebecca, tell us a bit about Strategic Intelligence.
Yeah, of course. So Strategic Intelligence is one of the World Economic Forum's flagship tools. It is meant to help users cut through misinformation and disinformation. The way we do that is by having curated snapshots from over 300 topics by our forum experts. At the core of our ability to do this are the forum's transformation maps. They combine human and AI insights to help individuals cut through noise. In addition to this, they also help users understand how these topics are connected to other global issues.
And Rebecca, tell me a little bit about the map behind us. What are some of the actions and takeaways you've got from the summit so far?
Of course. So our most trusted information comes straight from the source. So our SI team has been here throughout the Global Shapers Annual Summit to live curate this map with the Global Shapers teams about youth perspectives. So through this map, we've gathered insights on how the young leaders from today really view the world's most pressing and crucial issues.
And I guess, you know, we've got a live audience watching. We've got a great map. Tell us some of the key takeaways you want them at home to get from this creation.
100%. So our Shapers team have given us 5 key areas, and these are based on the findings and the topics from the Global Shapers Summit. So the first, we have purposeful leadership, where our global shapers have let us know a little bit about how they want to lead into the future and what they're seeing from organizations. They've told us that a lot of these kind of stringent corporate cultures isn't how they're looking to lead into the future. They want companies and they want to be able to lead with a lot of emotional intelligence and empathy. Next, we have the youth-powered tech for impact, where youth have expressed 2 slightly different things. The first is that they've told us a little bit about how they're worried about the impact of AI and how that's going to affect their perspective for jobs in the future, but also on a little bit more of a hopeful note, how AI can help improve these perspectives for jobs by bridging the digital divide. They've also told us a little bit about revolutionizing social innovation, where they've told us that they're hoping that the basis for social innovation in the future will be community and grassroots driven, so more bottom-up instead of top-down. They've also talked a little bit about climate leadership, where we've learned about the idea that youth voices aren't necessarily trusted in the climate space, and they're used as more of a token. So youth leaders are really looking for a way to have the voices of young people be amplified and trusted and have kind of a cultural shift in that domain. And then finally, we have the youth economy and skills for the future, where we've heard the shapers tell us that they're looking for more mentorship and how we can really transfer skills from the older generations to the younger generations to help upskill the young people of today.
Rebecca, this is great. I think this is such a good way to clearly synthesize the insights from our Global Shapers community and really show them, you know, this is the insight and this is the action that you can take to really make the world a better place. Thank you so much for your work on this and joining us this afternoon. It's been great speaking with you.
Thank you. And the map will be available next week on the Strategic Intelligence platform for anyone who wants to take a look.
Yeah, please take a look. That's all we've got time for down here. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. Back to the studio. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace and Rebecca. It is great to see in action how shapers are using the platform and actively shaping it.
It was truly captivating to see real-world use case of the Strategic Intelligence platform. I hope this inspires other global shapers to start using it. Now, we're turning to Grace again, who interviewed some shapers earlier today to hear what is on top of these young leaders' minds on their last day of the summit. Let's watch the interview first, and afterwards, when we return, we'll celebrate with Natalie at the pinning ceremony.
Hello, I'm on the grounds of the Global Shapers Annual Summit. It's day 3, and while it's the final day, Next Generation Now is going to keep going. This final day of the summit, we're really looking at how the youth can accelerate action, not just looking at insight, but moving how to implement to solutions. I have a great lineup of shapers here with me. I'm going to introduce my first shaper to come join me. Welcome. Hello. Please tell me your name and where you're from.
My name is Halimat and I'm from Ibadan, Nigeria. I'm the curator of the Ibadan Hub.
Lovely to meet you. How have you found your experience so far at the summit?
It's been really exciting, meeting a lot of young people with so much energy and innovative solutions in the past few days.
Are there any insights which you're going to take back to your hub to really drive action?
Yeah, there are really important insights, but one that stood with me is that we have to take action now for all of the social challenges that we see around us. We are all leaders in our spaces, and we can actually do it.
Yes, we can. And I guess one standout moment from the event so far, is there anything which you've really been like, wow?
Yeah, the panel on the first day talking about how as young people we cannot just stand by the sidelines, but we have to be at the center of decision making, policy making, because that's one of the highest level of change. Yeah, I think I'm taking that back with me to my hub and then to Nigeria.
Well, the energy you're bringing, bring it back to your hub. All the best. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Can I have my next shaper please come join me? Hello, please tell the camera your name and where you're from.
Okay. I'm Leo. I'm the creator of the Munich Hub in Germany, and I'm very excited to be here.
How have you found your experience so far at the summit?
It's like truly inspiring, like to meet so many people. Like we are like 500 shapers from over 150 countries. So meeting such diverse cultures at one point, I think it's truly unique.
I think the real benefit of the summit is bringing the different hubs together. Are there any connections you've built which you're really excited to continue with?
Yes, so I met a few shapers from Japan and we connected really well, shared a lot about our projects, and now I'm very excited to meet them again in October when I'm traveling to Japan. So they kindly invited me, so very excited about that. And it's also great to make these international connections here at the event.
Great, and I guess one final question. One word to summarize how you're feeling. How are you feeling?
I would say inspired, sums it up pretty well. Yeah. And now I'm very excited also to get back to Munich and share the experiences and the inspirations I got from here with my fellow shapers at the Munich Hub.
Insights to action, that's what we like. Well, thank you so much. Have a great summit and enjoy the final day. Yeah. Thank you. I have another shaper coming to join me. Hello. I'm loving this outfit. I said that earlier, but please introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Edilene. I'm from Paris Hub, and I'm originally from Benin and Cape Verde.
Lovely to meet you. Could you tell us a bit about the project you're currently working on within your hub?
Yeah, sure. So we have different projects, but one specific I would like to highlight is a project to really aware young people to eat better. So we really connect nutritionists, cook, and we're going to school to really raise them to cook in a better way with parents, involving parents and the children to be aware on health.
And I guess over the last couple of days, you've been involved in lots of different sessions and workshops. Are there any insights which you've really found important to this project?
Yeah, I think something that Albina says when I joined the workshop, like create star teams, is really to try to recruit people with heart and being able to create a community where we can all rely on. Like I feel now today, it's not only about the project. We're not only here to have impact, we're really here to create a powerful network and to influence our local communities.
And I guess one final question, what makes you hopeful for the future? In particular, what makes you hopeful for the youth of the future?
I will say being here with an amazing place, people from everywhere, like there is hope because I think young are really motivated. We like I have a highlight during this forum where we were like sitting with people from different continents, like trying to see, okay, we are here, we're privileged. How use this privilege to give back to the community? And I think it's, you know, the start of something bigger. So I will say that youth are really motivated, energetic, and I think we really understand how we can transform this privilege into something powerful.
That's great. Thank you so much. Keep bringing that passion and all the best for the rest of your summit. Thank you so much. My next shaper is coming. Hello. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Please tell, I'm good. Tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, your hub.
My name is Abubakar Rugamba from Kakuma Hub in Kenya.
How have you found the summit so far?
It's inspiring. It's giving me hope, lots of hope. Yeah, seeing people coming together, especially young people, coming together, trying to collaborate, connect, so that we can face the problems that are facing our world right now. It's inspiring.
And I guess you've been involved in lots of different workshops and sessions, and the theme is Next Generation Now. Why is the youth so important?
The youth are so important, especially in the leadership roles right now in this world, because we are the ones connected to the problems. So we are really, really important in these spaces. Yeah.
And, you know, looking ahead, when you go back to your hub, are there any key actions or takeaways from the summit which you're going to implement?
Yeah, there's so many takeaways. Actually, I've learned from so many shepherds. We are also doing other projects in our hub. We are learning from other hubs around, from different creators who are here. And we are actually finding out that there are different ways to tackle issues within the hub. There are different ways you can actually make an impact in your own community. And there are different ways you can also collaborate and do projects together, which is really good.
The knowledge sharing, the collaboration, that's what the Global Shapers Summit is all about. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the summit. We have one final shaper. Hello. How are you finding the summit so far? Could you tell me a bit about yourself and where you're from?
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Lynn. I'm from Amman, Jordan, and I'm a new community champion for the Levant region, covering Jordan, Lebanon, Palestine, and Kurdistan, Iraq.
Tell me a bit, why do you think being a champion is so important?
Being a champion gives you the opportunity to tackle global problems in a local context. So it's a wonderful place to interact with people, like-minded individuals, and work together to make change in your local community while giving it a global platform.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, as a champion, you're working a lot with the creators that have come here to the summit. How have you found that experience? Any key takeaways you want the creators to go back with to their hubs?
Absolutely. So it's been a wonderful experience. I've met over 15 curators in my region. They're all very excited to go back home. Our region is currently a hotspot. There's a lot that's going on. So they're very excited to go back home to work on making positive change in their local communities. One thing I would go back with is the most important thing is to have fun. So I always say it's 50% impact and 50% having fun.
And I guess what makes you optimistic for the future?
What makes me optimistic for the future is seeing all these young individuals that are globally facing the same issues just with different intensities. So there is something that connects us all, but there are over 500 people here that are willing and ready to go back to their local communities and do whatever it takes to create positive change.
And, you know, your role is so important. I think the community really appreciate what you do. And thank you for coming to the summit. It's been great just seeing you all out and sharing insights and really inspiring each other. So thank you so much. Thank you. That's all we've got time for now. Great discussions I've had over the last couple of days. And yeah, I'm feeling inspired. I hope you are too. Back to the studio.
Thank you, Grace. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our closing plenary. As we wrap up the 2025 Global Shapers Annual Summit, I want to begin with something simple. A big, ginormous thank you to all of you. To everyone who is joining us from around the world, in person and online, thank you for showing up with courage, clarity, and the conviction that change is not only necessary, it's possible. And it's not just possible, it's already happening in every corner of the world because of you. What can you expect in this closing plenary? In the next 30 minutes, we're going to do 3 things together. First, we're going to ground ourselves in a powerful tradition in the Global Shapers community, our pinning ceremony. Next, we'll reflect on some of the key moments from the past 3 days. And finally, we'll share a few takeaways we hope you'll carry forward to your hubs and your communities around the world. Let's begin by honoring one of our very own. Each year, the pinning ceremony marks a turning point in the Global Shapers Annual Summit. It's a gesture that says, well, the summit is ending, our journey is just beginning. The Global Shapers pin is a symbol that says, I see you, I believe in your leadership, and I've been changed by your presence here. In just a few minutes, 500 hub leaders around the world will receive their Global Shapers pin here at the World Economic Forum. This is a moment of both recognition and responsibility. You receive a pin because you offer one, because in our community, you never pin yourself, you pin someone else who's made a lasting impact on you and your leadership journey. It's a reminder that we rise together and we lead together in the Global Shapers community. So to help model this tradition, I'm honored to welcome a very special guest, Nora Baruba.
Hi, Natalie.
Nora had no idea that this was happening, so this is happening live in the moment. And let me tell you why Nora's here. I first met Nora in 2017, 8 years ago, at a World Economic Forum gathering in Milan, focused on reimagining the future of Europe. Even then, 8 years ago, her clarity of purpose, her calm strength, and her unwavering values stood out to me and everyone who's had the pleasure and privilege of interacting with her. Since that day, Nora has been a trailblazer in the Global Shapers community. She helped launch the Stockholm Hub. She served as vice curator. She also became the youngest ever co-chair of the forum's annual meeting in Davos. She led Sweden's National Youth Council. She shaped diplomacy and policy-making initiatives. And today she serves as the chief of staff at the Daniel Sachs Foundation, a story that she also says is made possible thanks to the power of this community. And of course, Nora has served on the Global Shapers Foundation board for 3 years, a role that concludes this year. Through it all, Nora has remained a tremendous force for good, lifting others up, leading with humility, and showing up with the deepest integrity. Today, Nora, I say thank you. I say thank you for your leadership, your generosity, and your presence in the community. You leave a lasting legacy that will ripple far beyond your time on the Global Shapers board. Nora, here is your last and perhaps final pin, but who knows, in the Global Shapers community. So it is with deep gratitude, deep appreciation, and a whole lot of love, I give you your Global Shapers pin. I'm nervous.
Me too.
There we go. And then Nora, I'll invite you to share a few words if you would wish.
I'll start by saying thank you, Natalie, for your compassionate, kind leadership of our community. I think everyone here at the summit, but also online, can feel the real, authentic passion that you have in empowering young people. I also want to say to all shapers and young people that we might not come from the same place, but we're fighting for the same future. And it's so inspiring to see all of this energy and commitment in how you deliver impact in your hubs every day. I think the Global Shapers community, to me, apart from being such an important part of my life and my journey, I have so much to thank the Global Shapers community and you for. But it's also a testament to the fact that solidarity moves faster than bureaucracy, and that we are building the muscle memory of a generation that is refusing to be sidelined. So to all of you out there, whether you feel sad, desperate, frustrated, or hopeful, we are so thankful for the engagement that you are putting in to shaping this world into a better place. Thank you, Natalie.
And thank you for everything. Oh my gosh, it marks the end of an era, but a new beginning. Also joining us just off screen, we're celebrating Nora, but her fellow board members are also here with us. Ola Jamoke, who is an alumna of the Abuja Hub in Nigeria, and Talis, a global shaper from the Florianopolis Hub in Brazil. They're here offering gifts to Nora live. And we also want to recognize Tarek, who is an alumnus of the Manama Hub, whose term on the board also concludes this year. Though he couldn't be with us in person, he actually joined the last live session. We are nevertheless celebrating him deeply. Since joining the community in 2014, after winning a Forum Thought Leadership Challenge, Tarek has led with wisdom, compassion, and quiet strength. Tarek, if you are watching, thank you for your decade of service. Your insights and care have left a lasting mark on this community, particularly in our charter and the critical governance systems that guide us, and of course, on so many lives that have been changed in the Global Shapers community because of your leadership. We can't wait, Tarek, to celebrate you in person soon. Now, let's take a moment to look back and reflect on this year's Global Shapers Summit. We've done a lot in just a few days, so let's revisit what we learned, what we created, and what we're taking forward. You can see across the World Economic Forum, every room is tuning in. I want to hear you. I want to see you wave. I want to feel the ripple across the World Economic Forum. On day one, we opened the Global Shapers Annual Summit with powerful words from the World Economic Forum President, Borge Brende, who reminded us that global progress depends on rebuilding trust across generations, sectors, and societies. At a time when polarization threatens our shared future, his message was clear. We must lead through collaboration, not division. In our opening plenary, Global Shapers, Noura and Hosanna urged us to dream bigger, to act bolder, and to shape systems with integrity. We were reminded this summit is not just a gathering, it's a launch pad. It's a space where bold ideas and brave action begin. On day two, we turned inward. We asked ourselves, what does it take to lead change and to sustain it? We explored the essential skills that anchor youth leadership, courageous dialogue, self-awareness, clear accountability, and a deep commitment to values over visibility. We shared tools and practices that shape healthy hub culture, reminding each other that hub culture is the most important driver of lasting impact locally. And finally, today on day three, we celebrated the winners of the Global Shapers Innovation Prize in our Impact Marketplace, recognizing outstanding youth-led projects transforming communities around the world. From aquaponics in Zimbabwe to AI health tech in India to tools for the visually impaired in Mexico, these weren't just ideas, they were blueprints for a more just, inclusive, and sustainable world. But we didn't stop just at celebration or recognition. We also collaborated. Today, Global Shapers engaged with 12 major forum initiatives, aligning our local efforts with global action. Together, we addressed pollution and plastic waste, linking grassroots action to the forum's Global Alliance for Clean Air and the Global Plastic Action Partnership. We explored how AI is reshaping the labor market in the session Future-Proofing Your Career, aligned with the forum's Future of Jobs initiative. We surfaced strategies to confront converging crises and navigating global risks, grounded in the Global Risk Report here at the forum. In Designing for Inclusion, we also co-created new models for equity using insights from the forum's Future of Inclusion and Gender Gap reports. We united to draft a youth climate manifesto, amplifying our voices on the road to Belém in COP30. We built intergenerational solutions to financial resilience through the Longevity Economy Initiative. We tackled place-based health gaps, working with the Health Equity and Health for All initiatives. And through the Forum Center for Urban Transformation, we engaged with the Yes Cities initiative, rethinking how our cities can become hubs of sustainability and belonging. Through it all, the Global Shapers Annual Summit has been more than just a platform. We hope it's been a catalyst, helping scale youth-driven impact by connecting our ideas with global resources, networks, and influence. Now, looking ahead, let's be honest, we know that the work to come will be at times hard. But this summit made one thing clear. The most powerful force for progress today is young people working together. So as you return to your hubs and home communities, please stay connected, keep building, and remember, the systems we're trying to transform weren't built overnight, and they won't be rebuilt without us. We're not just reacting to the future, we are shaping it. Thank you for your energy, your leadership, and your belief in what's possible. Thank you, and good luck for the year ahead. Now, before we say goodbye, I'm going to bring back for our virtual audience our incredible hosts, Krista and Eric, for one last reflection. Krista and Eric, you heard my highlights and takeaways. There were many. I want to hear from you. What are you taking away from this experience?
I mean, my highlight for this summit really was at the opening plenary, the big hurrah moment when the Innovation Prize winners got on stage. And I mean, it's a big chapeau to all the 12 hubs who got to win the prize. And just this morning at the marketplace, meeting the 2024 winners and just listening to their journey. I'm really hoping that everybody felt inspired, and please apply for the next Innovation Prize.
I'm going to ask your takeaway, but Eric, what was your highlight?
Wow, so many ideas come to mind. It's hard to choose. But if I have to choose one thing, I would say the strategic foresight session that I was part of, that's related with Future 50 initiative, and really backcasting from, for example, 2050, blue sky thinking of what the ideal future looks like, and walking backwards into what kind of action that I can take today that may have a ripple effect that get us closer towards that future, and incorporating the systematic thinking behind it. So I saw it as a tangible example of how young generation is actively shaping and learning to really incorporate the skills in the Global Shapers Annual Summit to really actively think about the future and shape it.
What a perfect summary. Local action, global impact. Key takeaway.
Key takeaway, let's just not talk, let's also execute. That was a big takeaway, that it's very easy to be in discussion and talk about ideas, but it only matters when you actually take that step to execute it.
Thank you, Krista. Eric?
Yes, I actually say it every year. Really, it may sound cliche, but now is a start. The connection that you made, the insight that you gained, the energy that you felt, bring this to the hubs, bring this to your personal connections, and really start working to what you have discussed and build a better future for everyone.
Eric, I have to say, from Beijing Hub here at the World Economic Forum now, to see your transformation and you taking on this role at the Global Shapers Summit, it has been the biggest pleasure, the biggest privilege, and you've represented the Global Shapers community so well. So thank you.
My pleasure.
And Krista, you're an extraordinary host. Thank you for being present. Thank you for leading us today through the most wonderful program. And to Murchana, who hosted the live program yesterday. You three were truly the dream team. It was remarkable.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And with that, we officially wrap the 2025 Global Shapers Annual Summit. Thank you to our online viewers for being a part of this moment. And more importantly, thank you for being part of what comes next. See you soon and keep shaping.
What's up?